Do you think it is possible to buy everything in this world with money? Or does power make people immortal? History tells us that when human pride touches the sky, nature's judgment descends in silence. Today's story is about a cruel landlord who thought his mountain of money would save him from all dangers. But in the end, he had to reach out his hand to the very person he once considered dust under his feet. In this conflict between the rich and the poor, who won in the end? Let's listen to a thrilling and educational story, one that will leave a mark on your heart. The story begins in a small town named Oak Haven in the southern American state of Louisiana. Although the town looked picture perfect, the lives of the ordinary people here were full of great hardship. And at the root of this suffering was the town's most powerful man, Mr. Arthur Sterling. Arthur Sterling, his influence was just like his name. Mile after mile of land in Oak Haven was under his possession. The pillars of his huge white mansion were made of marble, which glistened in the sunlight. But bigger than Mr. Sterling's vast wealth was his arrogance of money. He believed that kindness or humanity were traits of the weak. To him, the tenants were merely money-making machines. He would not spare anyone if there was a discrepancy of even 1 cent. At the very edge of this town, in a dilapidated wooden cabin, lived an innocent farmer named John Harper. John was a down-to-earth man. Braving the scorching sun and storms, he worked bone-breakingly hard day and night on Mr. Sterling's land. At home, he had his sick wife Sarah and 2 small children. John believed that honesty and hard work never go in vain. So despite the extreme poverty in his household, he never stepped onto a dishonest path. This is a realistic story of life's struggle. But luck is not always favorable. That year, at the beginning of summer, a terrible drought descended. It seemed as if fire started raining from the sky. The crops in the fields burned to ashes in the sun. The wails of Oak Haven's farmers began to float in the air. Even the crops in John's field did not survive. Right at this time of danger, a final notice arrived from Mr. Sterling's office. The outstanding lease money must be paid by sunset tomorrow. Otherwise, John Harper would be evicted from his homestead. John became desperate. Even by selling his wife's last asset, her wedding ring, he could not gather even half the money. Seeing no other way, John decided to go directly to Mr. Sterling and ask for forgiveness. Perhaps seeing this heart-wrenching scene, even a stone would melt. The next morning, shivering, John entered Mr. Sterling's luxurious study room. Arthur Sterling was smoking an expensive cigar then. John said, "Sir, please give me a little time. Everything is destroyed by the drought. I have no food to put in my children's mouths. I promise I will pay back everything next season." Arthur Sterling looked with a gaze of contempt. There was a coldness like ice in his eyes. He said, "Listen, John, this is business, not a charity. You poor people always look for excuses. My heart cannot be melted with emotional talk." John burst into tears. "Sir, have mercy. You are the king of this town. Save us." In reply, Arthur Sterling laughed loudly and said, "Mercy? Mercy is shown by the weak. I am Arthur Sterling. I rule. If you don't get the money by sunset, the sheriff will come and throw you out. Now get out." That day, humiliated, John returned wiping his tears. And that very night, the police came and threw John and his sick family onto the street. They took shelter in an abandoned barn in the town. Friends, time does not always stay the same. Nature's judgment is very cruel and strange. A few years later, hurricane season began. A severe storm warning was issued by the weather office. The river dam became weak due to 3 days of continuous rain. Mr. Sterling was unconcerned about his sturdy palace. Arrogantly, he said, "The foundation of my house is very high. This water can do nothing to me." But the fall of pride is inevitable. At midnight, with a loud noise, the dam broke. The rush of water directly struck the Sterling estate. In an instant, everything on the ground floor washed away. Arthur Sterling took shelter on the roof, clutching his money bag and safe to his chest, but the water kept rising. His bodyguards and servants had all fled earlier. Today, he is all alone in the huge palace. Suddenly, a part of the mansion collapsed. Arthur was thrown into that rushing, muddy water. He did not know how to swim. The money bag he was clutching became heavy like a stone and tried to drown him. In the struggle to survive, his life's accumulated wealth slipped from his hand and sank. The bag of money could not save him. He stayed afloat, holding on to a broken wooden door. He shouted, "Help! I'm Arthur Sterling. If you save me, I will give you half my property." But on that catastrophic stormy night, there was no one to hear his screams. The next morning dawned. There was only water everywhere. Arthur Sterling was still floating, half dead, holding to that piece of wood. Suddenly, he saw a small rescue boat coming in the distance. He waved his hand with all his remaining strength. The boat came closer, and do you know who the driver of that boat was? He was none other than that John Harper, whom Arthur once cruelly evicted. John is now going around saving people as a volunteer during the flood. Arthur did not recognize him. He said, "Brother, save me. I am very rich. I will give you many dollars." John recognized him. He remembered that insult, but John did not take revenge. He reached out his hand. This is the story of true humanity and greatness. John said, "Hold my hand, mister. No need for money. Just save your life." John pulled him onto the boat, wrapped him in his own jacket, and gave him dry biscuits to eat. After eating, when he regained his senses, Arthur looked closely at John. His chest shuddered. This is that very John. Bowing his head in shame, Arthur said, "Aren't you John? The one I—" John smiled faintly and said, "Yes, sir. I am that ordinary farmer. God has kept me alive, so I was able to help you today." That day, Mr. Sterling's pride had washed away with the water. He realized that while the flood had destroyed his house, it had much more destroyed the arrogant self inside him. Later, Arthur Sterling not only returned John Harper's land, but also forgave the loans of all farmers affected by the flood. He converted a part of his palace into a hospital and spent his rest of his life serving people. This story teaches us that money can build mansions, but it cannot build respect and love. Pride makes a person lonely, while humility makes a person great. And yes, do not avoid the subscribe button out of pride like Mr. Sterling. Who knows, maybe just with one like, your day will become lucky like John Harper's. So without delay, hop on to our storyboat. A bigger surprise awaits at the next station.